Hi guys, and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron, and welcome back today to another video. It is the match reaction. Everton 1, Brentford 0 at Goodison Park. Idrissa Gana Gueye's goal seals Everton's Premier League safety. Another win for Sean Dyche's side. 3 wins within the space of a week. I don't think any of us seen that coming after that defeat to Chelsea. That absolutely horrible defeat to Chelsea. 4 home wins on the spin as well. 4 home clean sheets, of course, but specifically those 3 wins in the last sort of 8 to 10 days have been absolutely huge for Everton Football Club and have ultimately seen us guarantee our Premier League survival before the end of April, having had 2 separate point deductions, and that is some achievement. And listen, I've been very vocal about the manager at times this season. I was very vocal about the manager before the run in December, the good run where we went on a 4-game winning streak. I was very vocal about him then. I was vocal about him at the start of the season when we were dropping points in games that we were dominating and in games that we were, creating enough chances to go and win the games. We weren't doing. Obviously, we had the run in December, and then that big sort of 4-month period without a Premier League win for me was a little bit unforgivable, and I still do stick with the thought that had Everton had been in a better position as a football club and in a more stable position, I'm not too sure whether Sean Dyche would still be here today. But I've got absolutely nothing but praise for him today, and that might shock some of you, and some of you might be thinking, Cam, you've had your eye wiped, I told you so a few weeks ago, I told you so a few months ago. But I don't think it's quite like that, this situation. I think everybody, myself included, was more than entitled to feel frustrated with that 4-month period in which Everton didn't win a single Premier League game of football, because not only were we not winning games, the performances weren't great, the confidence levels were absolutely on the floor, and it seemed to me, and a lot of other fans by the way, that the manager was just doing the same thing week in, week out and expecting different results, and he was getting exactly the same result, and that was Everton winning games of football. And I just felt at one point, I think it might have been after the game against Chelsea, I just felt that we weren't going to go any further with this manager, and he wasn't going to be able to get much more out of this squad. And I happily sit here holding my hands up saying I was wrong. And I said at the time, I'm more than happy to be proven wrong. I'm more than happy to sit here on this channel and do a video saying, do you know what, fair play, hands up to the manager, he's changed it around, and we've gotten out of the situation now, absolutely fair play to him. And I said if that was to happen, I'd sit here, I'd hold my hands up, and I'd admit it. I didn't think it would happen, especially after that 6-0 defeat to Chelsea. I thought we were going to be in the process of just basically carrying on that reign of form and carrying on those type of performances and hoping that we might sneak a similar win to the game against Burnley, because obviously we know that wasn't a great performance and it wasn't a great game of football. But I have to take my hat off to the manager, because he's absolutely turned this round spectacularly over the course of the last 8 to 10 days, and he's turned it round at a point and at a time when it was probably most difficult. We had 3 really, really difficult games coming up. We had a 6-pointer against Nottingham Forest, a fellow relegation rival, a team that would have been going into that game smelling blood from Everton, thinking, do you know what, these are in really, really poor form, they're struggling, the fans are getting on top of the manager a little bit. They'd have been thinking they could come to Goodison Park and get a result, and they never. The Merseyside derby was obviously huge for many and many reasons. We did our instant match reaction. We have got a podcast coming up this week in which we're going to discuss the Merseyside derby as well as this game against Brentford, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about Palace as well. About Forest as well in that podcast. Obviously, wasn't able to do a podcast after the Merseyside derby because I've been at a wedding this weekend. That was why there was no instant match reaction on Saturday or yesterday, and that's why this is so late. I did manage to catch glimpses of the game, and I've since obviously seen the highlights. But as I've said, I fully take my hat off to the manager, and I'm not quite sure what he's done. I'm not quite sure how he's done this, but whatever he's done, he's turned it on its head, and he's turned it on its head for the better. And listen, obviously, you know, he's had the change of outfit, he's had the change of attire, he's swerved the suit and gone for the tracksuit, and that, of course, is now the big talking point on social media. That's the thing that people are picking up on. Oh, tracksuit Dyche, 3 wins, 3 games, blah, 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 blah. I actually think it's much more than that, and I actually think that tracksuit is a little bit of symbolism from the manager. The manager spoke after the Forest game when he decided to wear the tracksuit for the first time, and he spoke about how he and his coaching staff decided to make a couple of changes, you know, with different things, whether it be training schedules, whether it be, you know, talking to the players about what they feel works, what they feel doesn't work, and obviously the tracksuit was part of that, and it's almost become this sort of little bit of an ironic joke of, oh, you know, Everton when Sean Dyche wears a tracksuit, you know, and it's a supercar versus Everton when Sean Dyche wears a suit, and it's a, you know, a little banger in a scrapyard. But like I said, this is actually much more than what it appears. It's not just he's changed his outfit and all of a sudden Everton have become better. He's obviously changed something in the background. There's obviously been changes made, not just what he wears on a match day, but it's more about what that represents. Now, I don't know what's been said. I don't know what's been changed. We could sit here and we could talk about it for hours as to what we think is happened, you know, within the training ground or on the training pitch that all of a sudden has turned a team that looked absolutely down and out at Stamford Bridge and were beaten really heavily, our biggest defeat in Premier League history against probably the worst Chelsea team in Premier League history. How he's managed to go from that to a side that turns up in a Merseyside derby, you know, just over a week later, and is fearless and is, you know, is ready to get involved and stuck in and angry and wanting to prove a point and ready to battle and ready to, you know, go at a side that are fighting for the title. Because, you know, let's forget it's Liverpool Football Club for the second and it's a Merseyside derby. Sean Dyche was able to have that team go out there against a title challenger, a team that, you know, at that point was still very much in the title race, with a side that, like I said, less than 10 days before had put in an absolutely embarrassing performance against a bang average Chelsea side. He's had that team and motivated that team to be able to go out and stand, you know, front on against a title challenging side in a Merseyside derby, get at them, battle them, and ultimately win the game, and deservingly so as well. And that's what I'll take out of these 3 games that, you know, we've had over the past sort of 10 days or so, is it's not like we've fluked wins. It's not like we've managed to scrap a late win via a smash and grab goal, or we'd managed to get a dodgy decision. I know the Forest game was, you know, there was one penalty that we got away with. The other 2, like I said it last week, I'll say it again, I think it's embarrassing if you think the other 2 are penalties. One decision we got away with, didn't get away with anything in the Merseyside derby. We beat them fair and square and we were the better team. And those are not words I've been able to say an awful lot in my lifetime. It's been 14 years since Everton beat Liverpool at Goodison Park. It's been 14 years since I was able to witness in the flesh a Merseyside derby win. And I remember when we last beat Liverpool at Goodison Park. I remember how young I was. I remember all of the life experiences I've had since then that obviously I hadn't had when I was a 10, 11-year-old child. You know, still very much new to football and still very much emotionally immature in what I thought football was. I thought, okay, yeah, you know, I'm going to support this football club. We're going to win trophies. We're going to have unbelievable days. We're going to have celebrations. You know, 14 years later, I've grown up into an adult. I've realised that it's not quite as nice as what you may think when you're growing up, and it's not quite as exciting at times as what you may think growing up. But we were still able to put a performance in that was reminiscent of those Everton sides that I grew up watching, that no matter who they played, no matter if they were playing a side that were in the top 4, no matter if they were playing a side that were challenging for the title, they still turned up, they battled, and it was that, we don't give a fuck who you are, we're Everton Football Club, and we're going to give you the game. And we mightn't win because you might have better players, and, you know, one of your players might score a worldie that we can't do anything about, or we might get a little bit unlucky, but what we won't do is walk off that pitch being embarrassed. What we won't do is walk off that pitch with the fans thinking, what a waste of my time, why have I bothered turning up here? And that is the type of mentality, and that is the type of attitude that I want to see from this Everton team, and it's the type of attitude that we hadn't seen. And during that 4-month period, it was the complete opposite attitude that we were seeing, and it seemed a million miles away that Everton would turn up in a Merseyside derby and put the performance in that we did last Wednesday. It seemed a million miles away that Everton would turn up and win 3 home games on the spin, 3 clean sheets on the spin. It seemed completely laughable to suggest that by the end of April, Everton would be mathematically safe, having had 2-point deductions, and that is the responsibility of the manager and the players. And I will be the first one to sit here and do an instant match reaction if Everton have lost or Everton have been embarrassed, and I'll be the first one to call out the manager, and I'll be the first one to call out the players, and I'll be the first one to say that wasn't good enough, he wasn't good enough, what's the manager doing, 4 months without a win, where do we go from here, etc, etc, etc. So I'll be the first one to say fair play to Sean Dyche, because whatever he's changed and whatever has been adapted and has been worked on the training ground, off the pitch, and very clearly on the pitch, has worked wonders. And like I said, I find the tracksuit sort of jokes and analogies really, really interesting, because obviously, you know, as on the surface it seems like, oh, he's just decided to ditch the suit for the tracksuit, but it's obviously much more than that. It's obviously much more than that. A change of clothing wouldn't have gotten that performance out of those Everton players. And even prior to the Merseyside derby, the game against Forest, I know people will argue all day long that we got away with some decisions and the referee was poor. There was something about the performance against Nottingham Forest, and it was the same against Brentford on Sunday. There was something about the performance that felt different. It felt like the players were wanting it a little bit more. It felt like the players were more motivated. It felt like the players were determined to go and win the game. You know, we beat Burnley the week before as well, and you know, obviously after the Brentford game when we'd secured our Premier League safety, which how unbelievable is that to say, by the way? How unbelievable is it to say that we can now go and watch football matches in the month of May and not be absolutely shitting ourselves about results? I watched Manchester City play Nottingham Forest yesterday. Nottingham Forest had a couple of big chances, a couple of, you know, really good attacks, and not once did my heart drop. Not once did I think, oh my God, we've got away with one there. Not once did I think, thankfully they didn't score that. I just watched the game of footy because I knew in my head and in my mind, none of this matters because Everton are safe. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if Forest win 110-0. Everton are safe. Doesn't have any impact on us now. We'll be playing our final season at Goodison Park in the Premier League, and that hasn't just come because the manager's decided to wear a different outfit. There's been bigger changes there, and fair play to the manager for noticing that and for understanding it. Some people might say he should have done it earlier. Maybe he should, maybe he couldn't, maybe the changes he's made have been things that had to happen at that exact time. But whatever it's been, they've clearly had not just a positive impact on these players, but almost an awakening for these players. Because like I said, you know, we've won 4 games on the spin at Goodison Park, and I was seeing the people tweeting about it and people talking about it, 4 clean sheets on the spin, and I look at that Burnley game and I sort of disassociate that Burnley game with these 3 games. And it's not because we lost to Chelsea, by the way, in between that. In fact, it's nothing to do with the fact that we lost to Chelsea. It was the performance against Burnley. I was there on that day, as I'm sure a lot of you were, as I'm sure a lot of you watched, and it was a horrid game of football. We won the game because of a disastrous mistake that Burnley's goalkeeper made. And I remember reading a tweet afterwards saying that was a draw, and Burnley have beat themselves there. Burnley have just thrown themselves under the bus with a silly mistake, and Everton have capitalised on it. Other than that, we didn't really have much in the game. They didn't really have much in the game. We got worse when it went down to 10 men, when they went down to 10 men. And even though we left the stadium with a win, which was huge because ultimately results are paramount at that stage in the season, I don't think many of us left Goodison Park with an immense amount of confidence that we were going to be able to go on a run, because the performance just wasn't very good. And then when we lost to Chelsea, there wasn't a huge surprise. It wasn't like, oh my God, we were so good against Burnley, and what have we done today? It was like, well, yeah, we were pretty poor against Burnley, but we just got a little bit lucky and got the win. And, you know, we replicated that performance against Chelsea and ended up losing. But the Forest game, there was a clear change, and it wasn't just the manager's attire on the sideline. It was the performance, it was the desire from the players, it was the grit, it was the determination, it was the effort, it was the passion, it was the relentless, it was players having shots from outside the box, it was Dwight McNeil picking the ball up essentially and having a go at goal. Interestingly enough, Dwight McNeil's now done that in all 3 games. He done it against Forest, he scored. He done it against Liverpool, in which we got the corner for Calvert-Lewin's goal. It was a similar shot, which troubled Alisson. And he done it against Brentford, and he rattled the bar, and he was very unlucky to not get another goal. So in all of those 3 games, you've had a player in Dwight McNeil who, for 4 months, looked like he was absolutely down and out in terms of his motivation and his confidence and his ability. We weren't getting much from him whatsoever. All of a sudden, within the space of 3 games, he's picking the ball up, is having shots at goal, is causing problems for the opposition. And again, we've not played 3 championship teams, we've not played 3 teams from League One. We've played Forest, who were relegation rivals at the time and could have very easily been a banana skin game. Think back to Watford a couple of years ago, think back to Norwich a few years ago. We've had Burnley a few years ago. We've had a number of those games where Everton have gone in needing to win and have lost. But we didn't. We turned up, we worked hard, we battled, we put it to them. All right, we got away with 1 penalty decision, but Forest were terrible on the day and didn't deserve to win the game. Everton deserved to win the game. And then it almost felt like, because of the backlash to the Forest game, the whole, oh, well, you know, Everton got away with 3 penalties, the referee was terrible, this, that and the other. It felt like the players took a little bit of offence to that. It felt like the manager took a little bit of offence to that. It felt like the reaction was, well, hang on, we were the better team and we deserve to win, so don't be using other variables and other excuses as to why we've won the game. We've won the game because we were the better team. And it almost felt like the performance in the derby was well, we'll fucking show you. We'll show you. We'll turn up against the team that are challenging for the title, a team that we haven't beaten in, you know, well, what is it, 4 years, 3 years, generally 14 years in front of fans at Goodison Park, and we'll beat them as well. And we did it. And we beat Liverpool relatively comfortably, and we deserve to win. And then we come into a game that we all know, if we win, we can guarantee our Premier League survival. Sorry, I've got the hiccup. We went into the Brentford game, a game knowing if we won, we could guarantee our Premier League survival. Again, another game that Everton have typically slipped up in previous years, gotten a point instead and dragged it on for the further week, or ended up losing and dragged it on to our final home game of the season. No, we just turned up and we just won. We won the game. And maybe I was a little bit quick to jump on Sean Dyche. Maybe I was a little bit quick to the button. Again, I'm still torn in between, and it's not because I don't want to say I'm wrong, because I'll happily admit when I'm wrong. I'll happily hold my hands up. I think if you go 4 months without a win as a Premier League manager, you're going to get criticism. No matter what the situation is, no matter what the outside noise is, you're going to come under criticism. And at that time, it felt like the manager wasn't going to get any more out the players. But fair play to him. He's proven and he's shown that he was able to make those changes. And it wasn't just a change of attire. It wasn't just throw a tracksuit on and ditch the suit. It was obviously things in training. It was obviously the way he spoke to the players, the motivation he put in the players. Even the tracksuit itself, maybe that is a symbol. Maybe the players weren't reacting to Sean Dyche wearing a suit because they felt like he was an authoritative figure, and it was more of a, well, it's all your fault. I'm the one in the suit. I'm the boss. I'm not doing anything wrong at you. And then when he puts the tracksuit on, all of a sudden, he becomes like one of them. It becomes a team. It becomes more of a unity. Well, you know, look at me. I'm not wearing a suit like the people that own the football club that have put us in this mess. I'm wearing it. I'm one of you. I'm like you all. I'm the same. I'm in it with you. You know, I'm in it to win games of football, because it really is astonishing. And I would love to sit down with the manager, and I would absolutely love, and I'll never get the opportunity to, but I would love to say, what changed, Sean? What exactly was the difference? Because this is 2 polar opposite sides. The side that we saw lose against Chelsea, and even the side that we saw beat Burnley, is a completely polar opposite team to the side that we saw beat Liverpool and then beat Brentford on the weekend. In the Brentford game, obviously, like I said, I wasn't there. I was at a wedding. I've watched the highlights and I've watched, obviously, the goal back. You know, again, it was a tight game. Brentford are a team in a similar position to us. They've got a couple of star players. They're not a team that you would expect Everton to turn up and beat 4 or 5-0. They're not. They would have had to have had a really bad day for that to happen. They didn't have that. They didn't have a really bad day. It was a tight game of football, but we managed to dig deep and get the win. Not only that, we managed to score a goal with, 25 minutes, half an hour to go, and then just completely shut the game off and never really be in any trouble after that. I watched consistently from about 60, 70 minutes on, and I don't think Brentford had an effort at goal. I don't think Brentford had even one moment where I'd gasped or I'd thought, oh my God, it's 1-1, oh my God, they've scored. We were just comfortable. We were comfortable. Garner Gay, again, absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Jared Brantwaite, absolutely phenomenal. Once again, unbelievable performances. Dwight McNeil, like I said, picking the ball up, having a go, causing problems for the goalkeeper, causing problems for the defenders. Jack Harrison on the other side as well. Jack Harrison, a player who you will all know if you've been on the channel for a while. I've had a go, I've slated, I've effectively said I don't think he's good enough. And whilst I still think his final product and his final ball is poor and needs improvement, his effort and his desire and his work rate has been absolutely second to none in the last 10 days. And that performance from him has been utterly necessary. And without it, maybe we wouldn't have got the results that we've got. The same as without Garner Gay. Maybe we wouldn't have got the results that we've got without Brantwaite. The determination of the players is different. The attitude of the players is different. We've read news today, reports today, suggesting that Mykolenko may be out for 6 weeks with the injury that he sustained in the Merseyside derby. Now, they're unconfirmed reports, but if they're to be true, Mykolenko played on for 10-15 minutes with an injury that is going to keep him out for 6 weeks. That shows the attitude, the determination. It wasn't I want to go off. It was no, I want to continue as long as I can continue. And he was probably only taken off because he was told he was going to have to be by the doctor at half time. If it was up to him, he'd have probably wanted to stay on. And you might think, well, this isn't anything new, Cam. This isn't anything like unbelievable. Dyche hasn't created an unbelievable new way of playing football that's never been seen before. No, but what he has done is he's managed to take an Everton team that were there, bang, rock bottom on confidence, rock bottom on form, fans' frustration, everything going on, all the background noise, with the ownership situation, with the point deduction situation, all of that. A team that a lot of neutral fans this season would have had Everton down absolutely automatically, not because of the fact that they thought we were worse than Luton or Burnley or whatever, but generally when teams get point deductions, they don't stay up. Especially when teams get 2-point deductions, they don't stay up. Especially when teams get 2-point deductions and go 4 months without a win. If I'd have said to you at the start of the season, right, you don't know the final league table, however, I'll tell you, Everton have 2 separate point deductions in this season and also go 4 months, which is half the season effectively, without winning a game. I'd have said, well, we're down then, aren't we? There's no way we survived that. But we have, and not only have we survived it, we've survived it with 3 games to go at the end of April. Last year, we had better players and we didn't survive with 3 games to go. We survived on the final day. Season before, we had even better players. We survived on the penultimate day. It's improvement, and yes, I'm not saying that Sean Dyche will be the manager to take us forward forever. I'm not saying that people should all of a sudden now love Sean Dyche. I'm not saying that I'm particularly fond of the way Everton have played as a general this season, and obviously we don't know whether this can continue in the long run. We don't know whether this form, these performances will continue for a sustained period of time. But what we do know is he needed to make changes, and he needed to really flip this around and give those players a kick up the arse and find a way to give them motivation to go out and win games of football, and he's done it. And that forever will be a very positive memory for me of Sean Dyche. Even if Sean Dyche leaves the football club in the summer, if he leaves the football club next year, even if he stays in the summer and then we have a bad start to the season and he gets sacked midway through next season, I will still remember that he managed to flip a team that I watched on a Monday evening at Stamford Bridge and said to my girlfriend, this is probably it now. This, that is a performance that is absolutely symbolic of what we are at the moment. He's managed to flip that completely on its head and get this team performing like they're challenging for Europe. And he deserves an absolute immense amount of credit for that. And I mean an immense amount of credit for that. And whatever changes he's made, whether it is changes to training schedules, whether it is a change to his outfit because he wants to fit in a little bit more with the players, whether it's bringing somebody in, maybe Seamus Coleman's had a little bit more of an influence on the squad now. We saw him obviously again after the Merseyside derby giving players hugs, and you might think, well, that's normal, Cam, he's club captain. Don't know if anybody of you watched it, you might not notice this if you're at the ground, but before the Brentford game he was actually watching our squad training. He was stood on the pitch in his club tracksuit watching our players training. That, for me, and I might be wrong and I might be a million miles away, but that for me seems to suggest he's had some role in, whether it be coaching, whether it be motivating, whatever it might be. It seems like the manager is sort of called upon him and said, Shay, come and help me sort this out, because I need to sort it out because it's not working the way it is. And fair play to Sean Dyche for doing that. He's labelled it his biggest achievement, and everything he's said in the media over the last 2-3 days or so post the Brentford game has been spot on. I love the way he called out the Premier League, saying you were dying for us to go down, you were dying for Luton to lose, because they were. Sky Sports were. Everton will have been on Sky Sports 4 times in a row. Forest, Liverpool, Brentford and Luton come Friday. When have we ever had 4 televised games in a row? Because they wanted us to lose to Forest. They wanted us to get embarrassed in the Merseyside derby by Liverpool. They would have wanted us to struggle against Brentford, and they would have wanted Luton to put the nail in the coffin, stay up. Lovely underdog story of Luton Football Club staying up, Everton going down. And we spoiled the party. We absolutely spoiled the party. And as I've said, I'll be the first to criticise the manager, and I'll be the first to criticise the players when they perform poorly. And I will also be the first to praise them when they perform incredibly. And this last week has been incredible. It really, really has. And as I said, I think if we're all being brutally honest with ourselves, I think if I'd have come on this channel after that Chelsea defeat and done an instant match reaction and said, right, Everton are now going to beat Forest, we're going to beat Liverpool, and we're going to beat Brentford, and we're going to be safe before the end of April, you would have probably all laughed at me and said, you need to go and get your head down, Cam, because, yeah, whatever you've been smoking is got to your head, because that is never, ever happening. And it's happened. And it's happened because the manager has made the changes necessary. And what is even more impressive, I'll leave you in a minute, sorry, I'm in a little bit of a rant mode. What's even more impressive is the changes he's made haven't been changes to personnel. You know, one of Dyche's biggest sort of bits of defence this season has been, well, what's he meant to change? He's got a very weak playing squad, which I agree with. He's got very limited numbers. Again, I agree with. This is all fact. And the playing squad he's got, a lot of them are very limited in their abilities as footballers, and I'd agree with that. And my point was always, it's not just about changing the players, change the system, change the formation, change the tactic, change something. And the manager has managed to get polar opposite performances out of this team with the same players, practically the same system. I know he's dropped Onana, he's brought Garner-Gain, and that does make a massive difference. Not necessarily in a negative towards Onana, but Garner-Gain has just been absolutely formidable over the last 3 games. He's been unbelievable, and I do truly believe without him in the squad, we wouldn't have won 3 on the spin. I really do. But it's even more impressive because it's not like he's just gone and I'm going to bring this kid in, and he's brought somebody in from the 21s and they've scored 5 goals in 3 games and they've been unbelievable. Or, right, I'm going to go 5 at the back and all of a sudden everything's changed and we've gone, oh, well, brilliant, we've gone 5 at the back. It's the same team, it's the same system, it's pretty much player for player. But the attitude, the application, the motivation is all changed completely. And the manager deserves huge credit for that. And the players deserve huge credit for that, for getting their head out their arses, picking themselves up and going and performing. And they deserve all the glory they get. They deserve all the plaudits they get. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is etched in Everton's history forever now. He probably was anyway because of because of the Palace goal, etc, etc. But he definitely is now, because not only did he score against Liverpool, he absolutely dominated and bullied a Liverpool team that were challenging for the title in a proper Everton number 9 fashion. And as I said, regardless of what happens with Sean Dyche, we don't know whether this is going to be sustainable. We don't know what next season is going to bring. I will always remember fondly these 3 games, because I will remember how down and out I felt, not just after Chelsea, but you know, in the games previous to Burnley, I remember feeling, and I tweeted it there, I don't think Everton will win another game this season. And I didn't just say that reactively because I wanted views or clicks. I said it because I genuinely felt at that time we wouldn't win another game this season. And he's completely flipped it, and I don't know what he's done, but whatever he's done has worked its teeth, and huge credit to the manager for doing that. Huge credit. And yeah, obviously a huge result at the weekend as well, and Everton are safe. Withdraw the appeal, don't bother about the appeal. We're not interested now. They'll probably use that to give us another 10 points added on, but you know what, if they do, we'll just go and make them up as well, and we'll stay up anyway. It doesn't matter. They've been trying to get rid of us for years, and we're still here, so don't worry about it. Anyway, we're going to leave it there. If you have enjoyed it, please hit the like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. We are closing in less than 100 away from 9,000 subscribers, so if you could hit that subscribe button, it would mean a huge amount to me. Podcast will be back this week. We'll be back on Wednesday with the podcast, so don't forget to join us for that. We're going to talk about Liverpool, we're going to talk about Brentford, and we're going to talk about Forest. We're going to talk about the trio of games that have changed Everton's season, and obviously much more praise for the manager and the players in that as well. So big thanks for watching. Up them toffees. We're going absolutely nowhere again, and yeah, mad. What a mad life we live as Evertonians. Up the toffees. See you after.